Hi everyone, I'm Gina K from Gina K Designs and your host of Stamp TV. Today on Stamp TV, I'm going to show you a fun background technique using stencils. Stencils are all the rage right now, and if you haven't had a chance to try them or you've been a little bit intimidated by them, I think you're going to enjoy today's project, and it uses the stencil that comes in the new Made with Love StampTV Kit. Let me show you the tools and products that you're going to need to do this project. First, you're going to need some cardstock, and the cardstock I'm using is the Gina K Designs white and our black Onyx. Then for ink pad colors, I'm using the new blue Lagoon and some of the Applemint. Now if you don't have these colors and you have some of our older colors, you can use turquoise sea and maybe jelly bean green, or you can do something completely different like using bubblegum pink and some passionate pink. So the choice is up to you, but I'm using our new colors today. You're also going to need some kind of very low tack tape, and I'm just going to use some washi tape because I have so much of it. But you can use post-it tape or post-it notes, anything that's real low tack. Then you're going to need some adhesive, and I'm using the scrapbook adhesives. This is the dot adhesive. I really like this. Okay. For stamps, I'm going to use the stamp set called Better With You. And the stamps that I'm going to use for the whole card are the cats, and you'll see that in my finished project with the Your Perfect Greeting. But I'm also going to use one of these flowers. And then for the stencil, I'm going to use this Color Box stencil. These are their art screens, and this one is called Lovely. And this one is the one that comes in the Stamp TV kit. So I want to show you what they look like. I was a little intimidated by stencils when I first started messing around with them. I thought, oh, I don't know how to do this, and I don't know if it's going to be easy. When you see how easy it is and how cool the project looks, you're going to want to grab this right out of the kit when you get yours. Okay, so I'm going to start with a piece of cardstock that's a little bit bigger than I actually want it to be when I finish up. So this is just a quarter sheet of white cardstock, and then I'm going to cut it down. So I'm going to take, let me grab my glasses here, I'm going to take some of this washi tape, and I'm going to tack down this piece of cardstock onto my work area. Now I am using this little mat, and this one is by Ranger. Now, if you don't have a mat like this, you can just use a piece of scrap paper, or if you want something that you can use all the time, you could even pick up some shelf liner at your local big box store. That's fairly waterproof, and it's grippy, but it's not sticky, so you can wipe it right up when you're done. And you can see what I'm doing here. I am just tacking those edges down a little bit, right at the edge so that the cardstock doesn't move. Now I'm going to put this stencil on top, and you can put it anywhere you want. Figure out what spot you like best. I think I'll just go right there like that. And then I'm also going to tack down this stencil because I don't want it to move anywhere once I start using my ink. And that's going to help a lot. Takes just a couple seconds to tack it down, but you'll be glad you did. Now these stencils are made of a very, very thin mylar plastic, and most inks, at least most water-based inks, really don't stain them. So I'm going to use the Blue Lagoon, and I did show this to you in the release party presentation video, but I'm going to show you again. Some of you have said that our ink pads are a little bit harder to open than they used to be, and that's because the manufacturer tightened up the lids so that they would be more airtight, less likely to dry out. But if you look on this side here, let me find, yeah, there we go. You can see that little white lip that's sticking out. Just stick your nail under there and just push up on it and it'll open right away. Makes it very easy to open it. Okay, so I'm going to grab a sponge dauber, and I'm going to ink that up really well. And then, using a circular motion, I'm going to fill in all these hearts with some turquoise, some Blue Lagoon. And you'll find that this is very relaxing to do. And you can do shading if you want. You know, you don't have to fill them all in, or you can make them nice and solid if you want. It's totally up to you. Okay. So there we go. Now I've colored those in. Let's get a little bit more over here. And you can do more than one color, which is really fun too. You could add a darker blue or add a purple or something else. So I'm going to grab this stamp, and I'm not going to use it as a flower. Instead, I'm going to use it as a texture. So now you can do this with the same color, and I am going to do this with Blue Lagoon, but you can also do this with another color, like if you wanted to do something that was a little bit darker, like the blue raspberry or even in the navy. So I'm going to ink that up, and I'm going to start stamping, and you want to rock just a little bit to make sure you get the image in there. I'm going to just start stamping all over these hearts. And if you miss a little spot, don't worry about it. You can get in there. Isn't this cool? Now right now I'm sure you're looking at it and you're saying, Gina, that's a hot mess. That doesn't look like anything. But when I take this stencil off, you're going to see how cool this looks. And don't worry if you overstamp one image a couple of times. Not a big deal. You do have to just kind of shake the stamp a little bit to make sure you get that image inside. And like I said, these stencils are made of a very thin mylar, but they are raised up a little bit. So to get your stamped image in there, you want to kind of wiggle a little and get it in there. Alright. Now because I'm using the same color, right now it looks very vibrant, but once it totally dries, it's going to dry much more muted, and I can show that to you in my card sample that I made, because it's had quite a bit of time to dry. Get in there. I like the real big hearts in this. They're really fun. The little ones are a little harder to get in, but you want to put some kind of little mark in them just so that they look consistent. And you'll notice I don't even really have to turn the stamp or anything, because this is just getting pushed through this stencil, and it's very hard to tell that there's any pattern at all. It just looks very random. I'm using my other hand to put more pressure on. And then kind of look at it and determine, okay, I don't have any in these two, so I want to get a little something in there. A little something in that one. A little bit here. And don't worry about overfilling. If you overfill them, that's just fine. When I say overfill, I mean to add tons and tons of texture inside. It's just fine. Okay. So that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to gently take this stencil off, but I'm going to leave the cardstock part tacked down, so I don't really want to take that piece of washi tape off, just this one. Okay. So now you can see what that looks like. Isn't that pretty? That is so much fun. Now you could leave it like that. You don't have to add the texture. You can just have the hearts in turquoise. Or you can take it to the next step, which is what I'm going to do now, by using some of this Applemint ink. And again, just slip your nail right under there and pull, and it'll open right up. Now, I'm going to randomly fill in some Applemint in and around these hearts. And it will change the color of the hearts, because when you add some green over this blue, it's going to kind of tint the hearts a little bit and make them a little bit more teal. And I could use more than one color for this part if I wanted to. Okay. That's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to take this piece off, and once again I'm going to wipe down my area here. If you have a little Windex or something, that works too. And then I'm going to gently remove the washi tape. Now, it could pull a little bit of the cardstock off with it, but that's okay. Just try to be careful and pull away from the card, don't pull toward the card, because if it does tear, it'll tear way in. If you pull kind of away from the card, it will not tear too much of the card going inward. Okay, so now I have my paper cutter here, and I am going to cut off. Right now it's at 4 1/4, so I'm going to take it down to 4 1/8 on this side. No, I'll take it down to 4. Take it down to 4 on this side, and then take it down to 3 3/4 on this side. And then I'm going to take this one down just a little bit on this side, and then the whole thing's going to come down to 5 inches. So my panel will be 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches, and that just finishes off all the edges. So now this piece, let me remove some of this out of the way, and my stencil. And the way I wash my stencil, I just take it into the kitchen and put a little bit of dish soap on it and just rinse it with warm water, and it comes up perfectly clean. So I'm going to place this piece onto a piece of black onyx to give it that little edge. Like that. And then the whole panel is going to go on top of a piece of white. So I'll put that on there now just so that you can see how that just brings out all these beautiful colors that are in this stenciled background. There we go. Now you can see what these colors look like. They still have a lot of fading to do. They're actually going to really fade up a little bit lighter, and I'm going to show you that now in my finished card project. My finished card project, you can see I happen to make this background, this green, quite a bit darker. I used a heavier hand, and my background lightened up quite a bit. So they are actually the same exact color combinations, both cards, but you can see the difference. Each one is going to be unique. And what I did with this particular card is I stamped the 2 cats and just cut those out with our ovals. And I stamped the You're Perfect greeting on a little strip of white, and then I think these borders were just a silhouette file that I happened to have lots of pieces cut out, so I just grabbed whatever. You can also use the double scalloped border die. You can use the Allison's ribbons dies. You can use a punch, whatever you have to add a little bit of an interesting border around the greeting. Or you can just add a little strip of ribbon too, that's fine. And I used some of our black plaid ribbon and made a double loop bow. And then I used that white pen that I found at Target in the dollar bin just to add a little dot around each of the scalloped edges to make the whole thing just kind of stand out a little bit more. And you can use a gel pen, or you can use maybe a silver pen, maybe a silver or gold Sharpie, whatever you have laying around. So that is my finished card project, and here is the background kind of up close. I hope you've enjoyed today's Stamp TV project. Stay tuned to Stamp TV for more projects featuring the new Made with Love Stamp TV Kit.